Hi, I'm Phil, Perfect Finish Ortho Lab. Coming into my 36 years here at Perfect Finish, 20-person ortho lab. We service the New York metropolitan area.
Hi, my name is Mike Wright. I'm the president of ODL Orthodontic Laboratory. We are a second-generation company here in Buffalo, New York.
And I'm Lance Dowdle from Excel Orthodontics in Portland, Oregon. And we're just celebrated our 30th anniversary. And we're about a 30-person laboratory in Portland, Oregon area.
We wanted to, the three of us wanted to discuss a few questions today that we get asked a lot as lab owners, specifically warranty, remake policies, and repair policies. So we were going to start off with our warranty policy. Here at Perfect Finish, we guarantee the fit of all of our appliances. If it doesn't fit when you get it back, just send it back for a remake. We ask that you send the appliance back, but with a new impression or scan, and we won't charge you unless that we've contacted the client in advance to notify them of a problem, like a distorted model, an appliance design issue. If you receive the appliance and it doesn't fit, there will be a charge because we got approval from you or a staff member, a doctor or a staff member to proceed. We also no longer at this time are warranting the sizing and seating of lab supplied bands because we have a solution or an alternative to that with 3D printed bands, and there's going to be more to that to follow later with another video.
One of the things I'd like to add to that is we guarantee the fit prior to you making an adjustment. You can't go in and make an adjustment and then try it back on the original model and expect it to fit the same way if you've made an adjustment that throws it out of balance. Oftentimes they'll send them, we get them back and they say it didn't fit the original model, and that's because you've made adjustments to that. So that's the only thing I'd like to add to what Phil had to say.
So I'll talk about my repair policy and the warranty policy. And it's very similar. We guarantee all the work. But we started to get we're trying to figure out a good way to manage this with our customers. So we instituted a 90-day no questions asked policy. And some may cringe at that. But what we do is it's just so much easier to process it, because instead of sitting on the phone trying to figure out, what happened here, what happened there, because I know the dog's going to eat it, something's going to happen. And so at that point, we just say, if it's within that 90 days, we're just going to remake it for you. And then after that, if we do have a repair, anything after the 90 days, we do charge usually a full price at that point.
Okay, so for me, I hit the warranty, but repair, similar to what Michael said, we have a 90-day on our wires, pretty much no questions asked. If a wire breaks for 90 days, 3 months, we'll repair it or replace it for them. Welds, like laser welds or solder joints, we'll cover those for up to 2 years. But acrylic breakage, in my experience, it's almost always patient abuse. So we really don't warranty acrylic breakage because, like Mike said, it's the dog got it, they sat on it, they stepped on it. If something's going to happen with acrylic, it happens usually in the first week or two. So we'll cover it for the first month if it comes right back. There's a little bit of flexibility there, but down the road, it's usually at a patient abuse.
Do you usually have them send the models back, or do you need a new scan, or how do you operate that way?
Yeah, we asked for the model, the original model back, but Lance and I were talking about this before. Most of the doctors don't keep their models because of storage issues. They really can't keep all that inventory unless they give it to the patient. So it would be nice to get the original model back, because the appliance is not going to fit the same on a new impression or digitally printed model.
Yeah, we run into the same issue. And so when we try to fit that old retainer on the models, we oftentimes end up having to remake the whole thing anyways. Mm-hmm. We'll be able to use the wires because they fit pretty well usually, but then the acrylic never fits and usually have that gap in the palatal vault area. And it's usually a toss up, and it's easier to remake it than it is to try to repair the actual acrylic.
Totally.
So we just tell the customers to remake it, or we're just going to go after and remake it.
One of the things we also discussed was the Pickmeup impressions for a repair. I don't know which doctor came up with it first, but they usually are not very effective, or better yet, we don't like them at all. Pick-me-up impression usually means an ill-fitting retainer, and it's better if we get a clean impression without the appliance so that we can make the judgment of whether we're going to remake it or repair it. And most of the time, in those cases, it's easier just to fully remake the appliance. So.
This is something we had to discuss when we came back after our closure from COVID, if we were going to accept repairs, because I was concerned for some of the employees that do the repairs, if they felt comfortable enough handling those. And we had a discussion, and the team felt that they were comfortable if we disinfected everything properly. They were comfortable with doing them. So we still do them. This is kind of gross, but if something is really gross, we call the office and say, we just don't want to work on this. We're going to remake it. Generally, we just try to evaluate, to be fair to our customers, what's most cost effective, because sometimes repairing it is as expensive as remaking it. So why wouldn't you rather have a brand new one than have a repair? Because repairs are very costly, they're time consuming, and to be honest, it's never really the same. Once you try to repair something, it's not as good as the original.
And oftentimes we have get a phone call and say, well, what is your repair policy, or can this be repaired? And oftentimes we can't tell whether it can be repaired until we receive it in the office so that we can evaluate what went wrong with it, or where the wire broke, if it broke in a spot that can be repaired, or if the acrylic broke in such a way that it can be repaired. So when we receive the phone call that says, can you repair this? Usually we can, but we really can't tell until we receive that the appliance back in the office. Now, with that being said, we've already discussed that it's nice to have the original model so that we can repair it on the original model, but that doesn't guarantee the fit for how the patient's mouth has shifted or moved throughout as they've been wearing the appliance. So we look forward to a clean, so rather than looking for the answer right up front, it's important that we are able to evaluate it before we make the decision.
Right, because you're always going to get the settling, on the molars, and the anatomy is always changing. And so we always find that, and at that point, it's just easier for us to remake it. And so some of the things we've been considering is I guess logistically just remaking those appliances. And then you have the COVID situation too. And to Phil, your point, yeah, we've been disinfecting and sterilizing appliances, for 30 years that we've been open. We're not worried about COVID. We're worried about all the bloodborne pathogens and all the other things that are incredibly dangerous that come into the laboratory. So COVID is not necessarily a big issue because we've been doing this forever. We've been sterilizing properly forever. But it's more of now just looking at what is the logistically pushing this into our process. Would it just be easier to remake it, especially if you're getting an old or a newer model and it just never fits?
Sure.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to fit the same. We all talked about that. It's one of the biggest issues. It's hard to understand. If we got the original model, we could get it back to fit on the original model, because that's the model we made the appliance on. But generally, changes happen in the mouth, T-shift, things are settling, and the new model or new scan is going to be different than the one we made the appliance on originally.
Yeah, I want to go back and talk about the decision you made regarding bands, Phil, and how you are not guaranteeing the indirect banding. That's something that we're considering too. The one repair we always get is an RP coming back that didn't fit. And it's due to the fact that we had very little clinical crown to be able to put that band on, but we're still asked to fit it. And then when it doesn't fit, we have to remake it. And then you're saying, well, we have a solution already, which is the laser printed bands, which is a fantastic solution. So not necessarily guaranteeing those appliances anymore. Have you got any feedback on that? Or can you dive into that just a little bit?
Yeah, it's there's been some pushback a little bit because we've been doing it for so long. Many of the clients don't understand why we're changing policy. The policy has been there, but it's been frustrating for us because we're absorbing the cost of those remakes, and it's just becoming cost prohibitive. It's just beginning because we're seeding more and more bands because of the digital technology. So we're getting scans, we're having to seat the bands, so we're seeding more bands than ever. So therefore, if there's error, our remake percentages are going up. We're good. We've been doing this for a long time, but when you can't see what's below the gum line, there's going to be things that don't fit. So we're trying to gently steer our clients into the 3D printed bands. We're offering maybe an opportunity to make one of each. In other words, if they're doing an RPE, we'll make a conventional one, the way we always used to do it for them. And then we're making a one with 3D printed bands so they can compare them when they have the patient in the chair, like as the first time. And then if usually they see the benefits, and then hopefully the next time they'll go right to the 3D printed band.
Right.
The other
Yeah,
thing
it's
about fitting bands is there's such a variety of how doctors like to have their bands fit. One doctor likes them so tight that you can't get anything through them, and another person fits them like a hula hoop, and they're moving around everywhere. And so the variety of how the preferences the doctors have is on both ends of the spectrum. And so that is the challenge we also face, is because we're supposed to think like each individual doctor. And, we have the way we like to have them fit, but that doesn't necessarily meet the criteria of each individual doctor.
So what are you doing,
and
Mike?
then if we miss it, well, right now, we have remakes that do come in because they don't fit. And we're trying to come up with a policy that if we're going to indirectly place a band, we have to have a certain amount of crown that's available to us, or we just have to push it up to the ease, which is what we're normally doing. But I am starting to transition and say, this is the one product in the laboratory that we are having to guess on. And it's the one product I'm just uncomfortable with, because I can't use any expertise to some degree, because I just don't know what's underneath there. So we have to guess, because underneath that tissue there, it's, for the doctor, there's tooth underneath there. For us, it's just more plastic. So we don't have access to that tooth. So we are guessing the entire way. So then we are looking to transition everybody over into the sintered bands, because it's a perfect fit every time. It's only 2 appointments. It's easy, and I can at least guarantee the fit. So I think we're going to be moving towards something I can at least guarantee, because I can't always guarantee the indirect band, and I don't think it's fair to the doctors to have us guessing on a medical device, per se.
The other thing to go along with that is anybody who says that they have a guarantee, that they have 100% fit every time, is not really being truthful, because there's no way for one laboratory to say, well, we have 100% fit every time with their bands. And so whenever I hear that, I know that they're not being exactly honest with anybody. I mean, it's just not true. So
cool.
Yep.
Great discussion.
Very good. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, guys.